Let's talk some NBA hoop as we come off of a Clippers win. They're now down 2-1 in the Western Conference Finals. The Bucks try to even the Eastern Conference Finals tonight against the Atlanta Hawks. And a guy who has experienced the Eastern Conference Finals when he was the head coach of the Toronto Raptors is now the head coach of the Detroit Pistons. He's Dwane Casey. He joins us in the herd. I'm Doug Gottlieb filling in. Coach, how are you?
Hey, Doug. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. It's good to catch up on radio. Got to do it in person sometime soon.
I know it. I know it.
Let's stick with the Eastern Conference, obviously, because you've been there for long enough as a head coach, two different teams.
Right.
Between game one and game two, I think here's a question that people always wonder. Why in the NBA playoffs are the adjustments made in between games, not at halftime?
Well, I think there's subtle adjustments, Doug, that are made at halftime. I just don't think they're as profound as we may think. It may be playing a particular player more minutes in the second half. I don't know if, some teams, if you're a veteran team, I would say like Milwaukee, you could do a little bit more as far as adjustments concerned. But the younger the team, probably the less dramatic or profound adjustments or changes you can make, whether it's a changing of the defense or if we're going to, play more zone or whatever, things like that. So, I know it seems like that a lot of and again, it depends on what team, how smart your team is. Some guys can't make that adjustment that quickly if it's a huge adjustment, a huge change. So most of the most teams right now in the playoffs will do something subtle, more so than profound for the second half.
When you were in Toronto and you took on the Cavs, you guys had a home court advantage. Is that a good thing? Did you feel like it? I mean, I guess you wondered if it adds to the pressure of the situation that there's an expectation of home court advantage.
And it goes back to the same thing. At that time, we were a little bit of a veteran team, or we had been together for a while. At that time, there was pressure because we felt like that was our year. I think we won 59 or 60 games that year. So we felt like that was the year we were going to get Cleveland. And if you remember, Doug, that game, we had 3 cracks at it to win the game with like 5 seconds to go in the game. We get game one because Cleveland had just come from a tough series against Indiana.
Indiana, right? Game
time.
7, yeah.
Right, and game 7 in Indiana. So we almost get game one. The series is over. I mean, we have a better chance of getting the series, or at least not, being as tough. So we had an opportunity that year, but again, you're exactly right. If you're not a veteran team, a team that can handle pressure under those circumstances, that first game at home is pressure, as far as pressure to win, pressure to get over the hump. And when you don't get it, it's very difficult to get it back. And that's going to be interesting to see how Milwaukee bounces back from that, because they're, from the two teams tonight in Atlanta and Milwaukee, Milwaukee is the one with more pressure. Right now, Atlanta's playing with free money. Yep. They're playing with house money. They're having fun. They don't have the expectations that Milwaukee has.
I mean, the perfect example of it is Trae Young comes off a ball screen and throws an alley-oop off the backboard. Like, in an Eastern Conference final game in the second half, you're like, what? Like, if that's not playing free and easy, I don't know what is.
Right. And Doug, knowing Nate, I coached Nate and coached with Nate in Seattle. I know that's not something that Nate's professing or preaching, is alley-oop off the backboard. So, again, like you said, they're having fun. They're free and easy. They're a very talented young team. So the pressure right now, they're not feeling the pressure that Milwaukee's feeling, because they don't know what they don't know.
It's a great point. They don't know what they don't know. Bud has been a guy, Mike Budenholzer's been a guy who it's like that old school basketball, and obviously you as a great player, you remember kind of the older school basketball is like hey, we do what we do well, and they gotta stop us. Right. That drop coverage and playing a big, I don't know. you've coached against Bud a lot in Atlanta,
Right.
in Milwaukee. How
Right.
apt to change do you feel like he is?
Well, again, that it goes back to our original conversation, Doug. I think if you have time, days between games and days to get into ready for a team that's playing drop coverage, and you have shooters that can space the floor, and the same thing happened, I thought, to Utah, that they space the floor and you go small. You may not go small the entire season, but then if you have time to prepare to play with a small lineup, the way that the Clippers did against Utah, and now the way Atlanta's doing versus Milwaukee, you can exploit some of the matchups. You get Lopez in rotation and where he has to get out to the corner. And if I remember correctly, they didn't play him a lot in the fourth quarter in that first game. So, it's difficult. They've had a lot of success. They're very talented. Bud's a very good coach. But playoffs is about having the tools to be able to exploit matchups in certain situations. But you got to have the tools to do it, and Atlanta has the tools. John Collins, I think, is playing terrific basketball.
Yep.
Huge rebounding.
And the rebounding, I thought the rebounding was really, everybody's talking about Trey, but the offensive rebounds as they're and for people who don't understand what's changed with the NBA, and you've been through so many different generations of it, it's not just the 3-point shooting, but the offense is so spread out that when a shot goes up, like John Collins is outside the 3-point line, he's got a running start at the rebound, and you're underneath in the lane. That's even harder for a box out, and Milwaukee, frankly, missed some of those box outs.
Doug, that is exactly right. Offensive rebounding with a spread, with a small, you say, well, they don't have the size. Well, you don't need it when you're attacking them from behind. You crashing the boards from the corners. Again, it's one of those things where, like you said, you're spaced out. They don't see you. Most players don't turn and look to see where the offensive rebound is coming from. There are a lot of long rebounds when you're a 3-point shooting team, and I thought that was the difference in Atlanta the other night. Trey, he scored 2 buckets or 2 points from the field in the fourth quarter, and the rest of them were free throws. So it wasn't really Trey. He was causing problems, but it was the offensive rebounding, the rebounding numbers that I thought won the game the other night.
Dwane Casey joining us, the head coach of the Detroit Pistons. I do want to get to your franchise and your team and the great news that you're going to get the number 1 overall pick in a moment. In the Western Conference, and you've been through this before, I believe in that last series against the Cavs, it was trying to figure out end of game adjustment against LeBron James, and you're trying to figure out, all right, do we put a big in? Do we not put a big in? And they end up going full court instead of going to the sideline.
Right.
All right, take me through from your perspective as a coach. Ty Lue decides to put DeMarcus Cousins on the basketball, puts Zubac on DeAndre Ayton. They decide to not switch, and then Monty draws up a perfect play that they execute. From the coach's perspective, what would you do differently if you got a second chance at what happened to Ty Lue?
Well, here's what I would do is and again, DeMarcus, I don't know what was in his mind or what he was told to do, but if you noticed him in that timeout, on that pass, he was straight up and down the court instead of taking an angle to take away the sight line of the rim. So if he gets to the side, jumps up and down like he's going crazy, trying to time the pass, he was just like, kind of standing there. So it was an easy pass. He was an easy pass for Crowder to the rim. And the other thing, if woulda, coulda, shoulda, if you could switch, even though it's a small and a big, if you could get just in his path, just to slow him up just enough, where you disrupt the timing on the lob. Again, it's easier said than done, because I give you an example in that situation. You mentioned it with LeBron James. He went full court because in the timeout, we specifically told Pascal, we want to trap. We want to trap LeBron. As soon as the ball goes to him, go and trap him. If Kevin Love brings the ball up the floor and and tries to go coast to coast, we'll live with that because I think you can catch back up. So lo and behold, when he goes into LeBron, Pascal, his instincts told him to take off with Kevin Love. And so that left whoever was guarding LeBron alone one-on-one. So Pascal's a young player, young in the playoff experience situation. So, again, you give all the adjustments you want, but, again, you're dealing with human nature and human beings, and that's, we make mistakes. So that was a situation there, and I'm sure, DeMarcus was told to get in that sight line where you disrupt that pass. It was a great play.
Yeah.
Jay Triano had run it before, and we had seen it before, and people forget there's no offensive goaltending on out-of-bounds plays. So all you have to do is go up and throw it right, almost shoot the ball into the rim if you have a good look at it.
Yeah, at least 3 seconds of defending the middle, and then maybe you worry about the worry about the corner.
Exactly.
But he wasn't even really active on the play. That said, I felt like last night was the old subtraction by addition, right? Like I love Chris Paul. If I could have been like Chris Paul, I would have played in the NBA, right? There's so many things he does, but he kind of screwed up how they were playing. How do you navigate that, manage that as a coach, where you have a great player, but we're already rolling, and it kind of changed the way Phoenix played.
Well, again, it's you want to play Chris, but again, you almost have to save guys from themselves. He's such a warrior. He's such a great leader. He's been a great leader for that team the entire year. But the problem is, he's been in COVID protocol for how many days? The guys probably hasn't played 2-on-2, 3-on-3, 4-on-4 at all. So that's the situation he's in. But then what throws another wrench in the situation is Cam Payne goes down, so he's hurt. So his minutes probably got extended more than what Monty wanted to play him. So it's a tough situation. I still will ride with Chris Paul because he brought us to the dance. And even though they played well without him in that first 2 games, you still need Chris Paul to win. So tough situation, but I get how Monty was probably thinking in that moment or that game.
Dwane Casey, our guest. Okay, so you get the number 1 overall pick. What's that feeling like?
It's great. I tell you, I probably made a fool out of myself, Doug. There's a video going around that my wife took that I jumped up and was cheering like I won the championship, in which, we got the number 1 pick because you don't get that too many times in your career, and it's just great for our organization. We're retooling, restoring a really proud franchise here in Detroit. So it's one of those things where it's just something good that's happened for our organization. We lost Blake, we lost Reggie Jackson, lost Andre, and so we're trying to retool that talent pool to get to where those guys are now. And it takes talent. You can X and O all you want to, and if you don't have talent, and that's what Troy Weaver has done an excellent job of bringing in the right people. We got a good young group, and just to add a number 1 pick or add more talent to that base is really, really exciting for our organization.
How close are you to deciding who you want to pick?
Well, we're going to keep our options open. We've had, unfortunately, we've had 2 months to prepare and watch a lot of college game tapes of all these guys and see them. But we're going to keep our options open, Doug, and we have to. If the right situation comes along and you put yourself in that position with the number 1 pick and you're in the catbird seat. So we're going to look at all our options. We're doing our homework. We're doing all the attention to detail things you do to make a correct draft pick. And again, the top 4 guys are really, really exciting players. And so I don't know if you can go wrong, and probably 1 or 2 above the others, but if you get any of the 4 of them, you've got a good pick.
If I told you one of them reminds a lot of people, he reminds me a little bit more of Penny Hardaway, but some people say Grant Hill, of course, is a great player in Detroit.
Right.
Is that Is that a fair?
I would agree with you. I would agree. That's a fair assessment. I totally agree. I know who you're talking about. I can't talk about him, but I agree with you.
I don't know if you can't talk about him. It's generally like, well, you don't talk about one guy, whatever, because they're not property of any
another
other
team.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So, but we know who we're talking about. Is that
there you go.
Penny, Grant Hill? Like those are two pretty good comparisons that you think they're appropriate.
Two Hall of Fame guys, and you take that anytime you have an opportunity with it. But again, we're going to keep our options open and do our due diligence and on all the top players in that situation. But that assessment is a really, really good assessment.
How hard is it, or maybe not hard? What is it like for you to go to work in this process, considering when you were in Toronto, you guys were this close to winning a championship, and obviously they won a championship. You're this close, but I just wonder, because you're looking at, Milwaukee bottomed out a couple years ago, and look where they are. Phoenix bottomed out, and look where they are. Atlanta bottomed out, and look where they are. Right? There's obviously Philadelphia's bottomed out, but in the moment, what is it like to actually go to work and you're watching all these other teams compete for? And I was just there. I was competing for a championship a couple years ago. What's that like for you?
Well, it's exciting, first of all, and I think, again, the teams you talked about, is so important to get the right mix. The chemistry, the guys that fit, the team that fits, the skill set that fits, Doug, is so important, because you can get a lot of the same guys, and you're going to have mush as far as a team is concerned. But if you get the right pieces, and that's what we're trying to do, is get the right fit, the right temperament, the right skill set that fits. You can't have all 5 defensive players and think you're going to win. You can't have all 5 shooters. You got to have playmakers and defenders, and that's what we're trying to do, is get a championship fit. And Troy has done a good job with it. He understands talent. He knows talent, and he knows what we're looking for as a coaching staff, and what it takes to get to that level. We know, and so that's why we just don't want to. We want to make sure we dot our I's and cross our T's as far as when we make these decisions and put this team together. And it's exciting, and we go to work excited, and I think our organization excited. I think we sold probably over, I think in a 10-minute period after we got the first pick, $400,000 worth of tickets. So that's exciting for everybody, and the city of Detroit deserves it. It's a sports city. It's a great, proud franchise with 3 championships there. Ben Wallace gave us good luck the other night, Doug, with being at the lottery. He just made the Hall of Fame. So a lot of good things are going. So we have a little pep in our step going in every day and working, and our players are working to get better this summer. We got 2 guys on the USA Select team. Jeremy Grant just made the Olympic team. So some good things are happening now. We just got to put it all together and continue to grind and build and develop our young guys toward where these guys are playing tonight.
Dwane, listen, have a wonderful summer. Always good to catch up with you. Look forward to doing so in person, and thanks so much.
Are you going to be at the Summer League, Doug?
Yeah, of course I'm going to be at Summer League. I mean, that's
okay. Well, I will see you at the Summer League.
Absolutely. It's like Nirvana. Thanks so much for joining us. Dwane Casey, Total Class Act, head coach, Detroit Pistons, joining us.